Dragontown, a city like any other, a city like no other, and it takes all kinds to keep it that way. It was another night in Dragontown. I was halfway through my shift until I got a call from dispatch, a Class 3 disturbance in Hollow Grove. I was in the area, so I took the call. Hopefully by the time I got there, this little disturbance will have turned out to be nothing more than a lover's quarrel, and by then hopefully it'll have all blown over. Wishful thinking on my part. The night had been slow, especially for S.R.T. I guess no Class 2s or 3s were out making any trouble tonight. Aside from a couple of hoods tagging a wall, I didn't have anything to do. Kids booked it when they saw me. But they were just some humans, and a dwarf, so I called it up and left it at that. It was about 2 a.m. when I got the call from dispatch, saying residents were calling about screaming and yelling from an apartment complex in Hollow Grove. Hollow Grove had a bad reputation. The neighborhood was low income, high crime rate. Funny enough, I had actually thought about getting a loft there a long time ago. I was close by now. Looking back on things, an angry orc with an attitude problem probably would have been the least of my concerns. I could have used a good beating right before I got off work. Definitely beats fighting for your life. I made my way down a back alley, passing by some orcs out on the streets. They saw my badge and asked me if I was here for all the screaming. Friendly guys. Shame, though. Looks like they had fallen on hard times. They did me a favor by warning me that whatever was doing all that screaming earlier wasn't human. They had pointed up to the 3rd floor of the apartment complex. They told me to use the fire escape. It led right to the room. I told them to clear out, no telling how this was all going to end, and I'd rather avoid any collateral if I could. I was never that lucky, though, and from the faint whiff of blood in the air, my luck wasn't about to change. I jumped for the fire escape. No sense taking the long way around. Given the situation, I might as well keep the element of surprise for however long it lasted. Who was I kidding? The clanky metal grating ushered me in like a marching band. I took a deep breath, a revolver stirring nervously under my coat. The smell of blood more pungent than ever, now being paired with the sound of cracking bones. It came from the window, glass shifting under my feet. That's when I saw it. Or, at least its silhouette. It was a Wendigo. I reached for my revolver, firing wildly into the bastard. I wasn't about to waste my time trying to tell him to put his claws up. Any human who chowed down on another person was already committed to crossing a line that there was no coming back from. The son of a bitch wasted no time picking me up like a rag doll. He was pissed about me interrupting his meal, and he wasted no time slamming me into anything in the kitchen. I think I must have busted my head on the sink. 2 things they don't tell you about Wendigos. 1, the exposed bone where their snout is weak. A regular human with a hammer can crack it wide open. I busted his face open, eyes flashing even brighter red, as he skewered me with his claws. Lesson 2 was gonna have to wait. My guts were being torn to shreds, the bottom half of my coat and shirt ruined. I fucking hated Wendigos. I gripped its arms, yanking the claws out of my stomach. I was about to grab one of its thumbs and snap it like a twig until he hurled me out the fire escape, sending me over the railing, back down to the asphalt. Luckily for me, my neck and radio broke my fall. As much fun as this little late-night brawl was, I about had it with this asshole. I made a mad dash down the alley. Hopefully, with any luck, the ruckus we made would alert some sympathetic soul to come to my aid and call the police. I had made use of the time I had left loading my .44 Magnum revolver. Wasn't going to stop it, but it might tip the scales in my favor. My blood was starting to seep into my pants now. Great. One more thing to deal with, provided I make it out of this. The steps came with their own rhythmic beat as he rounded the corner and cracked off another set of rounds, all finding their mark. I had him on the ropes now. It was time to end this. Lesson number 2. Not everyone knows this, but Wendigo's skin is surprisingly flammable. The Wendigo went up like a Christmas tree. It fell to the ground, writhing in pain. They were done for. I breathed a sigh of relief. All things considered, things went well. A few bullets and a spell doesn't have to be reviewed like a transformation does. The Wendigo was down for the count, bones and fur blackened from the fire, its skin smoldering still. I needed to head back to my car and use the radio to report this. This is going to be a shitload of paperwork. Hello? This is S.R.T. operator Ronin. Hello? Can anyone hear me? Hello? Damn. I wasn't getting anywhere with the radio, and by now I was sure someone would have sent a patrol car my way if they had called. I was on my own. I suddenly got the feeling I was being watched. I could smell flowers of all things in the air. No way to call for backup after a nasty fight, in a part of town where cops are about as welcomed as the clap. It was time to get the body and get out of here. Back in the alley there was nothing but some black burn marks on the ground. The body was gone. There's no way it was still alive, but who could have taken the body? I mulled it over for a second. Surmised someone with magic, or maybe someone who knew an alchemist in need of ingredients. This wasn't exactly uncommon, but it felt almost staged. Someone knew how this was all going to play out. Everything about this felt wrong. No body, no evidence, no clue. Hopefully the higher-ups will find in their hearts not to care about a missing body after a shootout. I made it back into my apartment just before daybreak, nothing like an ass chewing before bed. At least the precinct was nice enough to give me a shirt and sweatpants for my clothes that got ruined. I decided to celebrate my victory with tea and beef jerky. It's not exactly a balanced breakfast, but it was better than nothing. I looked out to Dragontown as the sun rose. It looked like another world, far from the noir landscape that I had just came from. It was peaceful, in a way, but it belonged to another world, another life, another detective, another place. For me, though, bed was my calling.